My name's Claire, I'm 23, and I make documentaries. It seemed like everywhere I looked, 20-somethings were getting the message that it was selfish to have kids.
There are parents out there who feel like they made the worst decision of their lives by deciding to have children.
If you are a mother, you will regret it.
To breed or not to breed? That is the question.
Child-free by choice?
Choosing to be child-free.
Any opinions I came across that opposed the child-free life usually came from sources that were outdated and judgmental.
Lavoy, a writer who lives in Asheville, North Carolina, told Today, "I also really like traveling. I like adventure, never sitting in the same spot for very long, and just kind of lifestyle things that don't really fit with having a child." Well, yeah, there's a word for that. It's called being superficial and materialistic and selfish.
E tante coppie non hanno dei figli perché non vogliono. Questo rinnegare la paternità e la maternità ci diminuisce.
So hashtags like child-free by choice and not having kids have gotten popular on the TikTok over the past year. It's mainly women making videos explaining their reasoning for not having children.
No.
My biggest pet peeve as someone that is child-free.
If you have to pop out a crotch goblin from your vagina to feel true love, I don't fucking trust you.
I'm a child-free person who makes my whole personality. I've got a few thoughts.
I don't ever want kids.
Couples specifically who are talking about all of the reasons why they will or will not have children, and now they're just considering climate change.
Not just to have fewer children, but in some cases just for people not to have children at all.
And celebrities like Miley Cyrus saying that millennials won't be having children because the earth can't handle it. Articles asking if you would give up having children to save the planet. And some polls finding that 1 in 4 childless adults say climate change is factored into their reproductive decisions.
Our planet is going to face disaster if we don't turn this ship around. And so it's basically like there's scientific consensus that the lives of children are going to be very difficult. And it does lead, I think, young people to have a legitimate question. Is it okay to still have children?
Is this messaging actually being adopted? Do 20-somethings really feel that way? Or are we paving our own way into the future? I reached out to my friends to ask the question.
Do I want to have children? If you would have asked me this like 2 years ago, I would have been like, no. But I mean, maybe.
I don't want kids at the moment or anytime in the near future.
I am on the fence.
I feel like I don't want kids.
Not biologically, I don't think. I think I'd be interested in fostering.
When it comes to having children, I think a lot of people have this anxiety surrounding it too, right? Like, how could I ever give them a good life? How could I ever set up a person for success and not for failure whenever I'm still trying to figure out my traumas? I'm still trying to heal from mine.
I think the most selfish thing you can do is have a child knowing that you have all this unhealed gunk of mess and think that a kid is a band-aid, an emotional band-aid, and it's supposed to fix you.
I think when you grow up and you have like parents that are kind of absent or make a lot of mistakes, it makes you scared to have children because you think you're going to do those same things.
We realize maybe we're not as prepared as previous generations thought they would be at this age to have kids.
I definitely want to make sure like I'm in the correct space mentally. If I do go through a rough patch of anxiety or depression or something along those lines, like I'm able to access the help that I need to better myself and also provide, the best parenting to my children as possible.
I want to wait until I feel like I'm in a position to where I can give a child the things they need to be functioning and not messed up children. I don't want to repeat generational things. We want to stop all of those things.
College delays us going out into the world and getting to experience our lives because we're so constricted by the education system. And so we feel like we haven't had the opportunities to explore and adventure and travel. And so when we get out of college at 22 or 23, having children is the last thing that's on our mind.
I feel like when you're in school and you're stressing yourself out about that, you're so wrapped up in all these tasks and stuff, and you don't really have time sometimes fully to be yourself. And just live.
I have so many things that I want to do in my life, and like experiences that I want to get, and like places I want to travel, and all this kind of stuff, right? And I feel like I would be doing a disservice to like a child if like I had one at a younger age, and then I was kind of like butthurt that I could no longer do some of the things I want to do.
Do I have room to make that sacrifice and be the best version of myself for a child right now? Probably not.
I can't imagine having to like care for something else that's completely dependent on me right now. Like that's insane to me. Like I don't know.
It's a selfishness of like, I want to keep my youth right now. Like if I want to pick up and go to a concert random Tuesday afternoon, I can. I don't have to find a babysitter. I don't have to find a pet sitter. That's why I don't have pets. I feel guilty leaving them at home, so I don't want to have one because I don't want it to stop my life. And I feel like kids sometimes do that.
And I'm not sitting here saying like kids are like a halter on that, but you have to change completely, like in a sense, who you are and the things you do, the choices you make, right? And also financially, like it's just not there right now. That's like such a crazy, not financial burden, but a financial sacrifice.
Not having children for financial means, you can kind of look at someone and totally understand why they would feel that way, right? Like having a child and not being able to give them the opportunities they deserve, the education they need, literally feeding them, clothing them, right? Like I'm sympathizing with those who don't want to have kids for financial means, right? Like I think if you look at human psychology and human behavior, it literally makes so much sense that someone would choose not to have kids in the 21st century. Simply because of how expensive it is.
You know, apartment rates are going up, even home rates are going up. Like, do I want to have a kid or do I want to like eat food and dinner tomorrow, you know? Like it's kind of hard to juggle the two.
I don't have money to raise a kid right now, especially not in New York or anything like that.
And childcare is unbelievably expensive. We are already trying to figure out where we would potentially want our kids to go because we have to start saving right now.
Right now, I'm still currently living with my parents because of inflation and everything too. So it's like, I can't think about having kids when I'm literally living underneath my parents' roof. And like, yes, I'm still their child, but I'm an adult. So like, it's hard for me to think about it.
As a woman, making the decision to have kids is very different than it is for a man.
We have no idea what will be going on with birth control, abortions, etc.
Pregnancy is terrifying to me. That is one of my biggest fears is pregnancy. I don't want to be pregnant. It's terrifying. They don't tell you everything.
So many girls do not even understand how the female body works. And then it's like suddenly they're getting pregnant. They're like, yeah, I found out I had all of these things going on, or like anything like that. So it's like, I also have a lot of learning to do about my own body before I think about bringing another body into the world.
You know, there's always like the dream, like I have a name picked out, of course, everyone does. I have a name list, I get made fun of for it. But like, it might just end up being a fish. I don't know.
Wait, what did you name your fish?
Jane Ophelia. Duh.
I knew Ophelia was in there. I feel like we have this idea pushed on us that we would choose not to have children because we only care about ourselves. But in all actuality, those who decided to not have children or to wait to have children did so for selfless reasons. They didn't want to bring a kid into the world and not be able to give it everything it deserves. Furthermore, it is arguable that someone without children could make just as much of a change in the world as someone with children. And for those I spoke to who wanted children or had them, their perspective was just as beautiful.
I do want kids.
I do want to have kids.
Yes, I do want kids.
Yes, ultimately, I do want to have kids.
We have 2 little girls right now.
I'm 22 years old, a single mother, and I had Nova at 21.
My fiance and I have talked about it before.
I would love to have kids.
I've always loved kids since I was 18. I feel like I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher, and that was just something that I wanted. I'm open to as many as the Lord gives me, but I'm also, even if I can or if I can't, like I'm always open to adoption.
I've always wanted children. I remember growing up thinking like, I don't really know what I want to be when I grow up, but like I do know that I want to be a mom.
Ever since I was like really young, I've always like said I just wanted to adopt kids. Sure, I can have my own kids, but like there's children out here that need homes and they want families and they want support, they want love, they want affirmation, and they want the great things that come with being in a positive family. And if I can offer those things and to someone who's already living, breathing, and existing, then I'll probably more inept to go that route,
Potentially, yes, I would enjoy having children. I would only think about that, if I was in a committed long-term relationship with someone and we then wanted to expand and of course this is coming from a gay man, so obviously this decision is going to be very well thought out and very well, I don't have to worry about accidentally just having a baby.
I just don't think I could be fulfilled long-term without kids. My biggest thought is what would I do if I was 80 and had no kids and I was past the point of being able to do the fun stuff that I want to do, and just knowing that I would die without any loved ones to kind of carry on for me, It's an existential thing.
In the dream world, I probably want to have my kids as a single person. Because growing up, my mom's a single mother, and now my whole mindset is just so independent because she raised twins and a daughter on her own. And I think I can do the same thing.
I think that there's nothing more important in the whole world than raising a future generation.
I think having children is one of the biggest legacies you can leave. And one of the best things you can do for the world, because if you raise good people, you create a better environment.
I did a lot of research on fertility rates for a documentary I was working on one time, and replacement rate is 2.1. So that means you have one kid per parent, essentially, and then some people might have one more to make up for those who aren't having kids.
They say that we need to be producing the proverbial 2.1 kids per family in order to keep the population stable.
We've seen, basically in all first world countries, those rates are dropping dramatically. In places like China and India as well. One big reason why people say that they only want, 2 kids or less is because of money. Does money affect the amount of children that you want to have?
I love the idea of having a large family, but it's just I feel nowadays it's not financially viable.
Finances definitely will affect the number of kids that we have.
It depends on the type of lifestyle you set up for yourself, because there are so many families who live more out in nature and grow their own food, have their animals, and have 5 or 6 kids, and it's completely sustainable. So I think it kind of depends on the life that you pick out, because if you are living in a big city in a small apartment, that's going to be harder.
I'd probably cap it at 2.
2 to 3. I wasn't an only child. I have one brother, so 2 makes sense to me. But I mean, obviously, do you have siblings?
I have 5 siblings.
Oh, okay. Nice.
I say 3 to 4. My husband's really stuck on 2.
We could see ourselves having a third one day, and we are open to adoption one day.
I think 3 kids is probably what I would aim for. But then again, that seems like a lot, but I'm 2 kind of boring. I'm sorry to the only children out there, but I've rarely met one that's great.
It would probably be very difficult to find a partner that actually wanted 6, 7, 8 kids. So even though I guess that would be the ideal, if I won the lottery and was mega rich and found a girl that wanted an unlimited amount of kids, I would be willing to have 6 or 7 kids.
3 kids. I think that's a solid number. 4 might be pushing it a little, but who knows? Maybe I'll start making babies and be yeah, I want to pop these puppies out. Like a litter.
In an ideal world, honestly, I want a huge family. I want 5, 7.
Let's go.
But realistically, that's not going to happen. So I'm guessing probably 2 or 3.
3 or 4. I feel 2 to 3 is decent amount.
I would want 1 kid. If, there were some stipulations with the bills, I might do 2.
When I was young and naive, I used to be 4, right? But I'm how can you afford 4 kids? I think 2 is the ideal number.
Some people think that it's selfish to have children. Do you feel that way?
How would it be selfish to have children? How is that selfish?
Okay. Okay, we don't have to answer.
I feel it's selfless because
you're giving your time for this little human who you have to raise. Like, you know, you're not thinking about yourself, you're thinking about a little human being, a little baby that's gonna grow up to be someone someday. So I think there's nothing selfish about that. It's pretty selfless work.
Yeah, well, I think people who say that are referring to like climate change and overpopulation and stuff like that.
That's all fear-based. Like none of that comes from a place of love. Like that's all like I fear like that the world is gonna end and so we have to decrease the population. That's coming from a place of fear, not a place of love.
I remember having conversations with my girlfriends like, yeah, like I'd love to have kids one day, but like today's crazy and like it is in a way it could be thought as of being selfish for myself wanting children.
With my ex, on our first date, we literally had this discussion. I was like, I think it's kind of selfish to have kids. Like the world is going to end. Climate change is so bad.
You know, there's this whole thing about like the world is overpopulated and you're going to give birth while polar bears are going extinct. You suck. While the turtles are choking on your plastic. Oh, you're despicable. How dare you have children?
He changed my views on this. Like we got into a deep discussion and he was like, Hannah, there's always been war. There's always been famine.
Yes, there's always going to be terrible things that are going to happen.
It's always been crazy.
In all of our history as a country, when has the United States minded their business? Like, let's be honest.
He was like, if people said this for centuries and centuries, we would not exist. He was like, so people just should stop their lives and stop having kids. No, like life goes on.
Throughout history, I don't think there's just a very convenient time to have children, like especially as a Black woman.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't be here if my parents felt that way when bad things were happening in their generation, you know?
Babe, the ice caps are gonna melt regardless.
So no matter, you know, what's going on in the world, I think that we will always want to have kids. It does change the way that you raise them, though.
Being able to correctly mold these young lives is just what can change the world.
Taking good care of them and spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically.
But yeah, and also I just think I would enjoy to like raise good, disciplined, wholesome kids.
I just really want them to end up being good, wholesome people.
I think by doing that, like the world becomes better because we're all like, you know, trying to find problems online and like always talking about things, but like no one takes action. And so I think like action starts at home.
So I'm gonna use these eggs, these God-given eggs, and I'm gonna pump out some kids because that's what Ariel wants to do. Ariel doesn't care what the leftists and, you know, right-handed people say, whatever. I don't care what hand you write with, babe. Let's go.
That was the best, like, mic drop moment.
My calling is to be a mother, and because it teaches me so much, and like, I love it. Some people may have a calling of other things, and that's just normal.
I chose my undergrad college degree specifically because I'm very interested in working with kids with trauma.
Probably part of the reason why at the end of the day, you know, that maybe having kids might not be the move for you, right?
I would want to work until I die because it's something I love to do. Like these kids, like I remember everything, any kid I've even subbed for, they're my kids and I worry about them. And so it's just like a building family.
People are starting to become better people in terms of like accepting one another and mental health being at the forefront. Like everyone's like taking a step back and it's like really starting to ask questions why we interact with people the ways we do, why we feel the certain ways that we do. And I think that's awesome.
It is undeniable that we are choosing to have children differently than those who came before us. We don't just have kids because it's what everyone else is doing. We take this decision seriously, and we truly think about how our actions will impact the future generations. And when it came to things like climate change or war, what I saw is that people leaned into those ideas. But instead of viewing it as a doom and gloom situation, that there was always another option, another way to innovate, dream, and change the world for the betterment of all people. Most of us are still dreamers, whether or not we want to have kids.
everyone, it's Naomi Wolf of DailyClout, and I am asking you to please, if you like the video you just saw, support us, become a member, donate. You can send checks to P.O. Box 24, Millerton, New York, 12546, or go to DailyClout, DailyClout, become a member or donate. Thank you so much for your support. Every penny goes for paying our hardworking staff, paying hosting costs, and paying our lawyers who have been leading the fight to keep you safe and free, to keep the Constitution safe and to keep you free. Thank you so much.